Welcome back to another episode of Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation. I'm your host, Philip Catalfamo. We have got a great show in store for you this week. Later in the program, we'll be joined by Mingus Union High School baseball coach Erick Quesada. He joins the show to speak about coaching during the offseason, how he maintains his baseball relationships, and previews next season. We'll then be joined by Bradshaw Mountain High School wrestling coach Bud Nollet. He returns to the show to speak about his third year coaching the program. He'll give an update on the offseason and how the program will adjust to moving from Division III to Division II wrestling. And when we return from break, we'll be joined by Bradshaw Mountain High School football coach Bob Young. He'll speak about the offseason, what returners he's excited about, and the addition of Snowflake to the 4A. All of that and a whole lot more coming up right here on Off the Bench. Stay with us. We will be right back.
Two things we can count on every year:
a new set of tax rules and great weather here in Northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation. I'm joined now by Bradshaw Mountain High School football coach Bob Young. Coach Young, welcome back onto the show.
Glad to be on as always.
Always happy to have you on, Coach. Obviously, the offseason is already underway for every football team in multiple states here in the United States, including Coach Young and his Bradshaw Bears. Coach, first and foremost, how is the offseason going, and how is your summer going?
Very productive. It's gone by real fast, actually. Once school year ended, we got started right away with our 7-on-7, and June's a really busy month, and we wound up going to 4 tournaments and playing over 50 7-on-7 games and assorted big man contests. So we're right in the middle of a 2-week break, and then we head to camp next week. So it's been busy but productive.
Well, Coach, can we talk a little bit about those 50 7-on-7 competitions? I mean, wow, that's a lot of competition for your guys before the season even starts. I mean, who did you guys take on? Can we talk a little bit about that tournament as well? Just what was that experience for your guys?
Well, this is a first for us at Bradshaw. When I got the job, we were in COVID and that got shut down. And, last year we were able to do some limited things, but this is the first year that they really opened it up. And, we we went to a tournament at ASU and, got to play teams like Notre Dame, Mountain Point, and, just really high-end competition. Went to a tournament at NAU. Competed real well, and actually we went over to San Diego. For years at Mingus, we went to a tournament at San Diego State, so we went there this year, and saw some of the better teams in California, and just a lot of local things. So we've had, like I said, we had a month of just a lot of really high end competition, and we got to find out a lot about ourselves, and it got a lot better. So we're excited.
Well, Coach, during this time, of course, obviously you got a couple guys who are coming off of baseball season or getting ready for the other fall sports that are going on. So I just want to ask real quick, I mean, how have you been able to sort of navigate, some of your players maybe having attention elsewhere during the off season?
That's how June is. And, we don't have a lot of baseball players in the program, which, I'm trying to get that corrected. And that was one of the things at Mingus. We had half the baseball team played football, but, we did have a couple of guys. We had some basketball players, but, the coaches have done a really good job of sharing athletes. I think when, a lot of the basketball, they do a lot of stuff on Monday night, and we didn't do a lot of stuff Monday. So, we do a good job of sharing. And, June is just a real busy month for these kids, and it keeps them going, and it just makes them better at every sport. That's the one thing we try to push, that I don't care if they play football, basketball, baseball, wrestle, do it all in the summer. And then, when you get to your season, it's just going to make you better at all those sports.
Yeah, and that seems to be the consensus with a lot of coaches that I've asked that question, is just, get as involved as you can. Coach, any new faces you're excited about? How was the freshman class coming in? Have you gotten a chance to see who you're going to be getting in terms of freshmen this year?
Yeah, we're real excited. The incoming sophomore, we had a big freshman group last year, and that was one of our big pushes. We had to get our numbers up, and I think there's going to be 4 or 5 of those sophomores that, you're going to see on Friday night, as the season gets rolling. And, we've been averaging, 40, 45 incoming freshmen, for our summer workouts. So, we're real excited about these 2 classes back to back.
Yeah, and of course, obviously that just continues the growth of the program going forward. You talked about entering camp very soon, next week. What are you guys going to focus on in camp? How does this all break down?
Well, this is the second year we've gone up to Heber for camp, and it's a, week-long thing. And, a lot of it's just trying to get back. I gave them 2 weeks off. So, we've been going real hard. So we're going to, really start to hit conditioning, because, that in June, you don't need to be in shape, but come August you will. So we're going to hit the conditioning, and then just a lot of the running game. June was devoted to 7-on-7 and passing. And so now we're going to get into, our bread and butter, which is running the ball and stopping the run. So I think those are the 2 things in camp, and, just a lot of team bonding, and, just trying to get together for a week, because, once that finishes, we're only a couple of weeks away from getting the helmets on. So, it happens really fast once we get back.
Yeah, we're only really just a couple weeks away from you guys' first game against Micah Mountain. And, we'll talk about the schedule in just a little bit, but you're right, Coach. I mean, it's going to come up very, very quickly. Again, we are speaking with Bradshaw Mountain High School football coach Bob Young. Bears secured a Grand Canyon region title last year. You get back a great quarterback in Grady Rose. He's now a senior. I believe, if I remember correctly, this is his 3rd year starting as the quarterback, but his 4th year with the program. Grady last year threw over 800 yards, had 6 touchdowns through the air, had 5 on the ground. What has his development been like this offseason, Coach?
He just he's improved so much as a leader, I think, and that's generally what happens between your junior and senior year. And, you look at his stats, his numbers, especially passing numbers, weren't real gaudy, but, we halfway through the season, we got to a point we were so depleted receiver wise, he didn't have anybody to throw to. So, that's when we really resorted to just, hey, we're just going to ground it and pound it. And so, his numbers suffered, but, we've got some really good receivers, and we really think, this year we want to be able to throw the ball when we can. And he's a good quarterback. We got good receivers. So, there's no reason why he can't have a breakout senior year.
Talking about that run attack, obviously Grady Rose, a part of that rushing attack in the offense you run, but also you had Elijah Acuna last year. Of course, Elijah graduated. But you do get back a huge back in Gabriel Ricketts, who coming in now to his junior year will be arguably one of the best running backs in the 4A or 4A Grand Canyon region. But I just want to ask, similar question with Grady. Where's Gabriel right now with his development, and how will he sort of take on that running back 1 role this year?
Last year as a sophomore, yeah, he definitely exceeded our expectations, and in our offense, we just like to play bully ball, and he's the ultimate bully. I mean, he's the strongest guy we have in the school. I mean, he will own every weight room record that there is. And I mean, he's gotten faster. And so, he's a load. He's going to be tough to bring down. And, he just needs to continue to mature. And, believe it or not, he just has confidence issues, which he shouldn't have any. Yeah. But, once he figures that part of it out, he's tough. He's a tough guy to bring down.
Any words on if Gabriel or Grady or any of your other, juniors or seniors might be looking at playing at the next level at all? I know we're still a little early.
Yeah, a bunch of them. Gabe's only going to be a junior. Grady's already got some college offers from some small schools, so he's definitely locked in. One of our receivers, Tanner Mitchell, he's got some offers. We went to a spring showcase, and after that, there was a number. Those two kids for sure, and we may have a few other seniors, and then we've got the Gabe Ricketts. James Giggy, who's a junior, he's another kid. So we got some kids that, definitely, they're not Division I, but the guys that are definitely Division II, Division III, and they want to continue to play. So we got a number of those guys.
You talked about returning Tanner Mitchell, obviously a receiver, like you said, utilized a lot last season. I can't imagine how many times I called his name, whether it was against Mingus or during the playoff games that we covered for you guys. But, along with Tanner, you talked about, having a little bit lesser of a depleted receiving core last year, but this year, some of those numbers have changed. You guys get a couple new faces. You obviously welcome back Mitchell, but, along with Tanner, what can we expect from the Bears receiving core this season?
Well, like I said, I hope we can throw the ball a lot more. Tanner. Tanner's our big guy. He's our big threat. But we got Makai Patenta, which he played quite a bit last year. He got hurt towards the end of the year. He's a lot like Tanner. He's tall, lanky, can go get the ball. And then we're hoping to move. Last year, James Giggy had to play tackle. We've moved him to tight end, and if we can keep him there, he's a force to be reckoned with at tight end. So we think we've got three guys legitimately, that when we want to throw the ball, we got three really good threats.
Well, taking a look at the defense, Coach, you return Aiden Ott, Malachi Stevenson, Caden Martinez, just to name a couple of the guys that are going to be getting back on the line for you. I know you did lose a couple big fellas down on the defensive line, but seems like the linebacking core is coming back strong. You obviously talked about some changes on the offensive line. I'm sure there's going to be changes on the defensive line, but where are we at with your defense, Coach?
Every year you got to replace some guys. Actually, Aiden Ott graduated. I wish he was coming back. Oh, he was. That
explains the tight end move, because I was going to say, where are you putting Aiden Ott? Okay.
Yeah, no, he graduated, but you're right. The Caden Martinez, Malachi Stevenson and James Giggy, those are our bookends. They set the edges. They do a great job. We got to replace Michael Kelly and Caleb Hill. Those were two big-time guys. But we really think, Michael Kelly's brother, Jordan, he's going to be a junior. He's going to fit one of the spots. And, we got quite a bit of our secondary. We honestly, just talking to Coach Dixon, we think before it's all over with, our defense is going to be as good or not better than last year. And last year, our defense was just, championship level. So I think, it's not going to happen right out of the gate, but I think, when everybody gels, we're going to be really good.
Yeah, again, we were speaking with Bradshaw Mountain High School football coach Bob Young. Coach Young and the Bears secured a Grand Canyon region title last season and are coming back strong this year. But a new face to the 4A this year, Coach, in Snowflake High School, who has been an absolute powerhouse out of the 3A East Division. They now move into the 4A. You guys get a chance to take on Snowflake in the regular season and obviously a non-region game. What has your experience been against Snowflake? And what can you say about them coming over now to the 4A?
Well, you're right. They are a powerhouse, and they, I think they're going to be one of the top 4 or 5 teams in 4A. I really do. And I know they lost a lot of kids, but those small communities in the White Mountains, they just, they breed those football players. And, we played them, maybe 10, 12 years ago. There was a 2 or 3 year stretch at Mingus. We played them and never could beat them. We had some really good teams. We had some great games with them, but it's just physical, and they're hard-nosed kids, sort of like what we like to be. And so, we know that's going to be a battle. And it'll be a good test for us because, last year we played Cactus, so we knew what we had to do, going into region. I think Snowflake's going to be that game for us this year.
Yeah. Coach, talking about, obviously, Snowflake moves from the 3A to the 4A. I just want to ask, you've been around coaching in multiple divisions here in Arizona. Is there a big contrast between your 3A football teams and your 4A football teams? I know there's a lot of crossover when those teams will play against each other in non-conference. You obviously talked about Mingus when you're with the Marauders, you've taken on Snowflake during that time as well, about 12 years ago. But I mean, do you notice a big contrast between the 3A and the 4A, and I'll even throw 2A in there as well?
It's just numbers, and football is a big number game, but the good 3A teams can compete with the good 4A teams. And just like I think the good 4A teams, the Cactuses, can compete against the good 5A teams. It's just, they don't have quite as many players, and you get a couple injuries here and there, and then that changes the whole complexity. At 3A, 2A, at whatever level, because you just have fewer guys to go around. But I guarantee you, Snowflake in 4A will be one of the top 4A teams. There's no doubt in my mind. And again, they have a few injuries though, and then that's going to change everything.
It also adds to an already tough 4A. I mean, we talked about the region being difficult to get through already, but then you get into the playoffs, you're facing teams like Yuma Catholic. You're obviously facing teams out of the region like Prescott, who you guys took on in the playoffs. Now you're adding Snowflake. I mean, just what does the addition of Snowflake do for the 4A in general in terms of competition going forward?
Well, once they've started moving teams up and down, we lost Cactus and Casa Grande and teams like that. So, I mean, those teams were at a different level. But now you add Snowflake and, like you said, Yuma Catholic and ALA Gilbert. They're going to, I mean, those three teams could be top 5 in 4A this year. Yeah. You add, Post and Buttes back. And so, you have those teams, and those are going to be the better teams in 4A, no doubt.
Coach, let's talk about JV real quick. How have you liked the development in JV this offseason? What can you say about that staff that you have coming into this year?
Well, we didn't have a JV team last year because of our numbers. We had, freshmen. The freshman sophomore team was pretty much all freshmen, which, we had, great turnout. And actually, we think we're going to have a JV team this year because we got enough of those kids that are playing. But, I'm blessed to have great assistant coaches. And to me, the freshman staff are more important actually than varsity, because you get the kids, the freshman kids, they have to learn, and you have to retain them. And if you get coaches that aren't very good teachers or aren't very good with kids, and you lose all those kids, and, that kills your program. So, we've been really fortunate. We've had Coach Steve Evans, who, was in the Peoria district. He kind of heads up the freshmen, and Troy Head, who was long time, he was at Mayor, and he's done a great job. And, in that group, they do a really good job. So, like I said, I'm blessed at the lower levels, and they really keep those kids working hard and getting better.
Coach, I just want to talk to you one more before we let you go. Again, we're speaking with Bradshaw Mountain High School football coach Bob Young. We are getting very close to the start of the season, still in off season currently. But Coach, we kind of talked about the region a little bit. I just want to get your assessment. You got a chance to take on Prescott last game of the season, had a lot of implications on the line. You guys take on Prescott again in the playoffs. I just want to ask, I mean, obviously, Mingus is adding Coach Dave Monsibaez. He comes in, not in a relatively new, but he's coming into a program that, is looking to build. Prescott's going to come back strong, as we know. Flagstaff, Cocoa, always very tough. Lee Williams, despite losing some of their talent, they've also got some great players coming back as well. Of course, the Bradshaw Mountain Bears, the reigning region champs. Coach, how are you feeling about the Grand Canyon region this year? And I mean, what can you say about its development through these past couple of seasons, despite you leaving and coming back to it?
Now, the Grand Canyon region's just gotten more competitive over time. And I mean, 5, 6, 7 years ago, we would get one team in the playoffs, and that's what we got. There's a lot of years that, the Grand Canyon region got one team in. Even a couple years ago, we were lucky to get 2, and last year we got 4 in, and 2 won their first round game. So, it's been a long time since, the Grand Canyon region has been that competitive, up and down the line. And again, just like you said, the 4 teams that made the playoffs, I don't see they're going to take a step back. I know, Cody at Prescott's got a great senior group. I mean, they're going to be better than last year. Coconino's not taking a step back. I hope we don't take a step back. And, Lee Williams has got great kids and it just seems like through the last 10 years, because 10 years ago it was Mingus and Flag were the top two teams. And now they're trying to get back up. And, that's what happens. Things go in cycles. But I don't think there's going to be an easy game in the region. I mean, everything's a battle. Every game's a battle. And that's what you like. That creates for great competition.
Well, Coach Young, it is always great getting a chance to talk with you. I appreciate your time as usual. Best of luck going forward with the rest of the offseason. And, of course, best of luck with the season coming up.
You bet. Thanks.
No problem. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Mingus Union High School baseball coach Erick Quesada. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Two things we can count on every year:
a new set of tax rules and great weather here in northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation. I'm joined now by Mingus Union High School baseball coach Erick Quesada. Coach Quesada, welcome back onto the show.
Good seeing you, my friend. Always great.
Well, we are always happy to have you, Coach. There's been a lot going on this offseason for your baseball program, also for you as a coach, which we are definitely going to talk about here. But first and foremost, Coach, for the program, how has the offseason been going? Were you guys able to participate in any tournaments, any kind of like scrimmages, intramurals, or not intramurals, inter squads? What have you guys been doing this offseason?
We had a very heavy June, and I set it up that way because, I'm also a realist that they're teenage kids, and they also are playing basketball, they're playing football. Like, obviously, I'm a big proponent of multi-sport athletes. Mm-hmm. So we matched it up really well with June. Our first tournament, we went down to Coconino, and we're fortunate because we have good weather, right? We have, a lot of good competition up here. 6 of our 7 teams made it to the state tournament last year. So it's nice to beat up on each other and not have it matter, right? Because you're getting really good competition. So we had, a tournament at Coconino. We went up to Snowflake for a tournament, facing teams from the Valley. We went to Flagstaff again. I mean, we've been all over. And I think in total it's close to 18 games in June, 16, 18 games, which is great. If in actuality, that's more than half of a regular season when it comes down to it. Yeah. But the boys, they did extremely well. A lot of growth, going back to it, we lost a lot of key parts of our season. Right? We lost, I believe 5 to 7 seniors, 5 of which started. Which is big for a small town program, right? You have to be able to rebuild and reload and stuff like that. So I think that we did a really good job of making some headway this June for sure.
Well, I know when we get a little closer to the start of the season, we'll obviously get a chance to talk more about, some of those returners you'll be getting: Xavier Buckner, Isaiah Godina, Ben Balo, a lot of those guys who will be your impact players. But Coach, have you welcomed any new faces to the program? Have you gotten a chance to see any of your freshman class early on here in the summer? I know you'll probably get a better idea more closer to fall, but have you gotten a chance to see anyone yet?
Yeah, there's been a couple that have been, coming, for a couple, ins and outs of everything, just trying to see everything. Because obviously, like I said, they're just trying to, get their feet wet getting into high school, right? So they've been to some of the, and they're kind of, all them, they're maybe buddies with, a couple of the boys. It's still kind of nerve-wracking to, hop into, a program and be like, oh, hey, I'm so-and-so, and, here I am ready to play, right? And then you also have like a pecking order of, who's going to play. Obviously everyone's going to play, but how much time? But there's a couple of faces that I'm really excited to see. there's one in particular, I'm not going to spoil that, I'm kind of looking forward to. I've heard, through the grapevine that, he's going to be a key part for the program moving forward, which is, coming, be great. And also for, a couple eighth graders who are going to be who are really going to have a good impact. But what's really nice is there's a lot of these kids that are now alumni sons, right? Mm-hmm. So that really plays a lot of role, because they know what it's about. They know what to expect. And what it helps is they have a lot of pride with it, because their parents, their uncles or their cousins, whatever it may be, they've gone through the program. They have that Mingus shield too of, I played Mingus baseball, I played Mingus football, whatever it may be. So they actually care a little bit more, which is really, really nice. And they know what to expect.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're keeping a secret, last year, your secret was Xavier Buckner, and Xavier Buckner played absolutely fantastic for the Marauders behind the dish as a freshman. So, all right, Coach, we'll keep it a little ambiguous. That's fine.
We'll be a little hush hush. Right. Go be coy about it.
Don't want to give too much out, but you got an incredible opportunity to go down to North Carolina and coach alongside some fantastic coaches for the USA baseball team. Can you tell us a little bit about, the kids that came out, the age groups, how you heard about the opportunity? Mm-hmm. Just take us through a little bit about, what this meant to you as a coach and what you learned.
Yeah. So not a lot of people know, but I've been a part of USA baseball for past 6-7 years. And I actually started as a scorekeeper that would watch championship games because there's age groups, right? There's, 12, 14, 15, all the way up. So, and I do
want to ask Erick real quick though, did you get a chance? Because, USA baseball, a lot of great players have come through there. Mike Trout and Andrew McCutcheon. While your time serving as a scorekeeper, do you remember any names that maybe we might know of that you maybe got a chance to mark down?
You know what? Not that I saw necessarily play, because there's some who are now, like when I first started, there were some I watched and they're now, in triple A and stuff like that, who are pro ball players now. And some who are now playing in the Pac-12 or the SEC, which is super cool to say, right? Mm-hmm. One of the parents I saw, ironically enough, Mark McGuire,
right,
Agassi, of course. Right. There's Roger Clemens. There's a couple others that, when, like I said, Roger Clemens, his son, right, just made his major league debut with the Tigers. And he has a couple, I think 1 or 2 more that are in pro ball as well. So through this whole process, I've been fortunate enough to see a lot of people, meet a lot of great people. But as far as that goes, that's pretty much what I've seen. So
let's talk a little bit more about you coaching. I mean, like I said, Coach, how is this going to help you going forward? And like I said, let's talk a little bit about what you guys did. Was it just tournament play? Break us down.
So this has been by far one of the best, probably the best experience of my life being in USA baseball. And I say that because of the people I work with. And I say that because all that I consider good buddies, right? I'm 29. A lot of these guys are older than me. They have way more knowledge of the game than me, but they still take the time to break everything down for me. They still take the time to, put me under their wing a little bit and help me with my career, which has been huge. So I was actually fortunate enough last year. This is on topic. I got roomed with a guy from Mississippi. Don't mind to mess this up because he's now somewhere else. And they're like, be a sponge, man. Pick his brain a little bit. And he was the nicest person on the planet. Didn't need to be, but he just was who he is. So first couple of days, he's on the phone nonstop. And finally, finally got to talk, and we go to dinner with a couple of our other buddies. And he goes, hey, I just accepted a job with Texas A&M University. And we're just like, oh, okay. And so, and he was on the phone with Jim Schlossnagle, who's one of the best coaches in college baseball. And so now you see Texas A&M was in the College World Series, and I'm seeing my buddy, who was my roommate, in the dugout on national television. And then all these other guys are guys from Phoenix who I'm really, really great friends with across the country. You name it. I'm lucky enough to have a book of people. I'm just like proud to call my friend, proud to call my buddy and stuff like that. But as far as the coaching aspect, we went out to Cary, North Carolina, where the national complex is. And I was fortunate to be a part of the staff that was on the trial staff, which means that you are a part of pretty much the Olympic trials, but you're not a part of the national team staff because they already have the national team staff.
Right.
And so we had a tournament for, I believe it was 5 days, 24 teams to about 200 kids. Right. And then what we had to do is we had to identify these kids as you're the best 12-year-old in the country. Like that's what you have to look at it as. So we broke it down to 200 to 36 kids. Now these 36 kids, now they were in our hotel with us, waking up, having breakfast with them every morning, taking a charter bus to and from the complex, which was awesome, right? We're full gear, we're having practices, we're having games. And I was on the red staff with one of my good buddies, Brian Madsen from California. Mm-hmm. And our team, we won three out of 4 for the series, which was really cool. But we're talking about cream of the crop 12-year-olds, right? And, you know, I told him we'd sit there at night and be like, dude, if I could have all these kids, you know, we'd be state champions every single year, and they're 12, right? Yeah. And, you know, there was one instance, right, where it kind of blew my mind is we had a left-handed pitcher from San Antonio, and he's throwing 77 miles an hour as a 12-year-old. Yeah. And put in perspective, one of my stars last year was 77 to 79, right? Mm-hmm. And that was a senior. But it was very fortunate, you know, to have that process. And then eventually what it came down to is brought him into a conference room, all 36 kids, all 36 of their parents. And then our head coach, RJ Farrell from California, he read off all their names that made the team, which were 18, so half of them. And then you just see, you know, crocodile tears, which is as a human being, as a coach, because you care about these kids, and now they're your boys. Yeah. Some of them, they don't make it, right? And that's just part of life. And it's not that they got cut, you know, it was the fact of you just didn't fit in this puzzle of the grand scheme of things. So those 18 kids, they now, and I believe, let me look at the date, they now go to Taiwan in like 2-3 weeks to compete for a World Cup. And that's just, it's amazing for me to be like, you know what? All my buddies are ready to coach 18 kids to try to lead my country, our country, to a gold medal, right? And people are like, oh, it's 12 you. It doesn't matter, right? Because you're wearing USA across your chest. You're at USA. You're representing the United States of America. Yeah. And it's super cool because I believe their first game's against the Czech Republic. Then they have Guam, Dominican Republic, and then I think in the pool play finish with Cuba. So super cool experience, man.
Yeah, no, I bet. I can't imagine what that experience was for you. I mean, you talk about just getting a chance to pick the brains of other coaches from around the country. You're seeing other kids, you know, they may have techniques or certain things that they do that you may want to implement in your program as well. So it's fantastic, Coach. One of the kids, though, that you specifically talked about was 12-year-old Anthony Ramon from Phoenix. He's another kid, local kid, well, somewhat local, obviously, but here in the state. He gets a chance to compete. He was one of those kids who is going to get a chance to compete in Taiwan. I mean, you know, I know every year you have your crop of seniors, you have your kids who start as freshmen, you see them go all the way through the program. This is a bit of a shorter leash, or in terms of a shorter, time spent with you. But I just want to ask, I mean, how cool is that an opportunity for Anthony, and what did it mean to coach him?
Oh man, that's the thing is when I saw that on Facebook, AZ Central, I believe it was, did that article on him, and they're taking a picture of him. There was a picture of him at Cary, probably from his parents, right? Because his parents were there. And Anthony, there was a home run derby. I sat there with Anthony for 5-10 minutes, just me and him. And it was he was such a humble kid. Yeah. And he's just a really good baseball player, and a lot of my buddies who were there, one is the head coach at Chaparral High School. The other one is a coach at Corona del Sol High School. And, they're messing around like, oh man, I think you want to go Chaparral. I think you want to go to Corona, right?
I think he wants to come up to Mingus. I don't know if he wants to go to North.
That's why I said, if you want to make the trip, an hour and a half, man, I'll take you. But it was cool because I'm almost 1,000,000% certain he was our only Arizona kid, right? Yeah. And Anthony is a really good kid. He has a very, very bright future, as you can probably imagine, right? And he was in that mix of I think we took 4 outfielders, and he was one of the outfielders that we chose. And we're talking kids from, I think, Texas, the Carolinas, one from New Jersey, California, Arizona. I mean, I can go on and on because there was 18 of them, but it was a great experience for all the boys, and Anthony especially, right? I mean, it's huge because he's an Arizonian.
Yeah, and of course, if he makes it to the next level, I mean, then you get the bragging rights of, well, I helped him out a little bit throughout his career, and got a chance to see him when he was 12. So that's an incredible opportunity, Coach, and that's awesome, man. It's great that you get that chance to really kind of broaden your coaching knowledge a little bit.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. And I want to, you talked about the Mississippi coach that ended up going to Texas A&M and coaching alongside what fantastic program. Like you said, they were able to make it into the College World Series. But another familiar face that we are familiar with here in the Verde Valley, Tony Vaca, made an appearance in North Carolina. And I just want to ask, you talk about maintaining relationships. I mean, obviously, you said you've got a Rolodex of names and phone numbers now that you can call and talk to guys. I know you have built relationships when you were coaching football, when you were coaching baseball, when you played baseball. Obviously, you and Tony played sports together. How do you kind of maintain those relationships, and how important is it as a coach to really broaden out your contact list and get a chance to talk with the guys you play against and be familiar with your opponents? Right.
Yeah. So just on the Tony topic, I mean, Tony's my brother. I mean, he's like my blood. There's no denying that. His whole family is, his brother's gonna be my actual family with my brother-in-law. So I mean, that's just how tight we are. But me and Tony, he took his team out from Minnesota, the Minnesota Mash, out to North Carolina, and they played at the big complex, right? Because where I was coaching at, they were the 12-year-olds, so it's a smaller complex, and we found the time to get together. But I just sat there and I'm just like, two small town kids from Cottonwood, right? Best of friends, brothers, meeting in North Carolina, like, it's unheard of, right? But it's humbling because we've gone through everything together. I mean, and it's so exciting to see what he's doing with his career in Minnesota, and like his Minnesota Mash is a top team in the country for travel ball. I mean, it's crazy. But just having that experience of, having my brother, my best friend, supporting me, and I support him. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, we probably talk, probably more than we should. Our girlfriend and fiance probably get a little bit more mad at about that, but that's just who we are. But then going on, having the Rolodex of names, it's humbling for me because, like I said, I'm a younger coach. I still am, right? In this game, 29 is relatively young. But I think for me personally, it helps because I don't have to worry about calling someone if I need someone, right? It's more than just baseball though. It's just life, it's great having a bunch of guys who genuinely root for you, for your life. When I got picked up from Phoenix, because I drove down there and we went down to have a meeting. The first thing, my two buddies from California said, "Hey man, congratulations on your engagement." I mean, no baseball, no nothing. It's
just life stuff. Yeah.
And then when I went out to North Carolina, same thing. My three buddies who I've known for years, "Hey man, congratulations." It's just like that. Like that makes everything so special. And a lot of our friends, like I said it earlier, is a brotherhood, right? I know that I'm going to be on Twitter supporting them. If they do something well, I'll give them a text or whatever it is. And I told my friends, that are going to Taiwan, I said, I don't care what time it is in Arizona. Like, I'm going to be, putting it up on TV, watching you guys, like cheering for you guys, because like those are my boys that I had for 2 weeks. I mean, that it doesn't matter though, because if you invest in something, right, that's what you're about. And I feel like a lot of those kids I've had a good relationship with, and not just Anthony, obviously there's a couple kids I had a handshake with, or, they made good plays. We, jump it and stuff like that. And that is a big part of this game of baseball. And I think that you don't get that necessarily in a lot of other sports. So I think that baseball brings a lot of people together because you have to be, how do I want to put this? You have to be invested in who they are and what they do. And it's a huge team game. You don't win just because a kid hits a home run. You have to also have a pitcher that, goes the whole distance and does give up a hit or a run as well. So
of course, it's a big concerted effort among many people, but Coach, we got two questions for you before we let you go. Just real quick, you also got an opportunity to coach the 4A North All-Star team, a team that you participated on 11 years ago. I just want to ask if you could just briefly tell us your experience, not only as a player, but as a coach, getting an opportunity to rejoin that team again.
Yeah, it makes me feel old, Phil. That's what it does, man. No, it was cool. It was, you're seeing some of these kids that you coach against, during the season. You're like, man, I really wish I had you on my team. But, it was cool just because now you're on that team and now you don't have to pitch around them, or you don't have to do anything like that, right? Or you don't have to develop a scouting report to try to face them. Right. But it was a very humbling. I keep using that word, but it's humbling because I was once there. I actually wore the same jersey that I wore in the All-Star game, kind of as like a, hey, this is pretty cool, right? But it was super great experience. A lot of great kids, and once again, is those they have a follower because I want to see how they do in college, because a lot of them are going to go play college ball at a really high level. So
yeah. Again, we were speaking with Mingus Union High School baseball coach Erick Quesada. The Marauders, of course, we're still pretty far away from the start of baseball season, but Coach Quesada has been doing way too much fun stuff for us not to talk to him about it. So I do, Coach, want to talk just briefly, just kind of previewing a little bit of the season. Obviously, we talked a little bit about some of the guys you'll be getting back next season, your Xavier Buckners, your Hunter Cogills, your Ben Balos. Obviously, there's apparently a mysterious player that might be showing up here soon. That'll be quite an impact player, according to Coach Quesada. So we're excited about that. But one big thing that you guys were able to accomplish last year was making the playoffs. I mean, you guys slide in the play-in round. You get that victory in the play-in round. You go into the first round and put together a incredible game, a very, very close loss in that against the number 1 seed, which I believe was Poston Butte, if I remember correctly. Yep. Mm-hmm. But regardless, I mean, to go toe to toe, Coach, with Poston Butte, when there were certain uncertain moments in the season where, we weren't sure if the Marauders were going to make the playoffs, or you guys had to win a couple games to stay alive. But, the program was able to stay alive. You guys your team put that fight in there for you. And I want to ask, I mean, how do you build off that momentum? You're going to return a lot of guys. You're going to get a few new faces. Obviously, the region's not going to get any easier. So how do you keep going after a season like that?
You have to reload. That's the thing is, you just have to be able to say, hey, you know what? Whatever happened, but that left a really good foundation to what's, going to happen, right? With losing a lot of key guys, we also have a lot of key guys still. I mean, we have, 4 seniors that are going to be in the mix, right? And then we also have, I think, our sophomore class, and I'm not exaggerating, our sophomore class is close to 20, right? Which is unheard of for a program, right? That sophomore class has carried our JV and freshmen for 2 years now because they're so heavy. And this is gonna be a really tough year for us coaches, because now you got to be like, okay, who's going to be on varsity or who's not? But
yep.
I'm a big proponent about, the weight room. I feel like I busted their butts in the weight room from August all the way up until January to February. I mean, and I think that really put a mindset in them like, oh, I really need to work hard. I really, nothing's going to be easy. And there's a lot of guys who got jumped by, freshmen and sophomores because they just played better. And that's just the reality of the business of baseball and of varsity sports or any sports, is the guys who contribute, the guys who, they might be doing everything the right way, which is fantastic. They're great kids and all that, but you also want kids who are going to produce at the plate, produce behind on the bump, stuff like that. And I feel like we have a really good foundation now of kids who understand, hey, you taste the success. That's great. You mean, you got it. I mean, now you got to smell the blood in the water and say, I want more. Like I'm hungry for more. And I feel like this group is hopefully going to do that. I'm not going to say they will, but I'm saying that they hopefully, because I feel like this team is bought in. I feel like they're bought into our culture and what we want. We just need to, put, to the grindstone and say, hey, let's do the dang thing. So.
Well, Coach Quesada, again, Mingus Union High School baseball coach Erick Quesada, I want to thank you again for coming on the show and giving us a little preview of what is to come in the spring when baseball season rolls around. Coach, best of luck with the offseason. Congrats again on the opportunities and congrats again on the engagement. We appreciate your time as usual, Coach, and I look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Awesome, man. Appreciate you.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Bradshaw Mountain High School wrestling coach Bud Nollet right here on Off the Bench. Don't go anywhere.
Two things we can count on every year:
a new set of tax rules and great weather here in northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation. I am joined now by Bradshaw Mountain High School wrestling coach Bud Nollet. Coach Nollet, welcome back onto the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we are always happy to have you, Coach, this time sporting a phenomenal beard. We have yet to see some facial hair from Coach Nollet, but we're happy to see some. Coach, first and foremost, how are you doing? How is your summer going? And how is the offseason going for you and the program?
I'm doing well. I'm doing real good. Just trying to enjoy the offseason as much as possible. Offseason wrestling's going good. We're keeping the guys just rolling a couple days a week just to keep them loose. Most of our guys are playing football, off-season football this year. So the handful of guys that are not, we just, like I said, we're just trying to enjoy the summer and stay out of this heat and just get ready for next season.
You talk about some of your guys also participating on the football team. How do you balance that with Coach Young? Do you guys have a conversation during the off season and, kind of, hey, here's what I want to do? Or do you just kind of like give them off to Coach Young? And if you got some stuff going on, they'll join you?
Yeah, pretty much, where we basically let the guys decide on their own. We have some guys that naturally navigate towards football and some that come towards wrestling. But, regarding Coach Young and myself, we're both big advocates. As long as the guys are staying active, staying busy, whether it's lifting or wrestling or football, we just want them staying active in the off season. We try to avoid the video games and the couch potatoes, but yeah, regarding Coach Young, we like to work together, and as long as the guys are doing something, we're happy.
Right. Of course. Where's the focus been specifically in the off season for the guys that you have gotten a chance to work with? Have you guys been got a chance to go to any camps? Are you guys focusing on any technique stuff? What have you been able to do with your team this offseason?
Yeah, basically, like I said, we're just trying to roll and stay loose. I don't want to give any secrets up, but
no, of course.
A lot of our guys are the kind of beginners, not really beginners, but they're still, not later on in their career. So we're just doing a lot of fundamental stuff. We go over a lot of leg riding. We don't push them too hard right now in the off season, just because. So basically we try to just keep it fun, keep it loose. A lot of technique, leg riding, single legs. And then we try to get down there to weekend wars down in Cottonwood every other weekend. So not necessarily, a few of our guys went to camps this summer, but for the most part, we just get in the room. We just open it up twice a week and just keep the guys loose. And, really right now we want them to enjoy wrestling. They don't have to cut weight. They don't have to focus on their win-loss records, so we mostly just keep it loose and, just go over the fundamentals and basics like always.
Are you seeing any new faces making their way to the off-season wrestling mat at all? Any new freshmen, anyone like that? Anyone exciting?
Yeah, actually we have a lot of new faces. We actually have a really large sophomore class this year, which were freshmen last year. And I'd say 10 or 15 of them were brand new last year. So a lot of those guys are in the room right now, just trying to absorb as much as possible. Mm-hmm. A lot of them have a lot of potential. It's just hard to say, how they're going to end up just because they're so green. But we have a really big sophomore and junior class this next season. So we have a lot of potential stars, but again, it's always hard to say. We only have one or two seniors coming back. Asher King, who placed third last year at state, he's going to be a senior. And really, we also have another kid, Casey Larkham, who's a senior, who hasn't placed at all. So they have potential. But then we have a big junior class, a big sophomore class with a lot of potential. Dion Zamora is coming back as a junior, and he's placed twice at state, so it's good. We're excited about for next season.
Yeah, as you should be. I mean, like you said, Coach, you guys are returning. Obviously, you're two big seniors, and then you have that entire junior class to look forward to, not only this season, but next season as well. And like you said, you guys are always welcoming in new faces. I'm sure you'll get a couple kids who will try out later in the season when football's done or whatnot. But yeah, continuing to build the program. And again, we were speaking with Bradshaw Mountain High School wrestling coach Bud Nollet. Coach, you're entering your third year coaching the program, and it seems like not too long ago, you and I were talking about your first year coaching the program at Bradshaw. So my time has flown. But I do want to ask, what are you specifically focusing on the off season? And I don't necessarily mean about the team. I mean, for you as a coach, I mean, it's been 3 years so far. I know you had a coaching experience before you took over the program, but I mean, where do you want to grow as a coach this season? Are there areas that you want to change, or the things you want to change? Just where are you growing as a coach in this off season?
Yeah, that's a good question. Kind of difficult to answer. As a coach, I really like to emphasize on just developing good kids, good adults. Really, that's the goal. We let them know that they're student athletes, where they're students first and then athletes second. So this time of year, off season, and we start school in a couple weeks, I'm really emphasizing with the kids, focus on their academics, on their grades. I mean, I heard Dan Gable once say, as a wrestling coach, ideally, if we had all of our kids with a 4.0 GPA and they all went undefeated, that's the ideal right there. But obviously, that's hard to achieve. So, we want our kids to strive academically and focus on their grades, and then, just being good people, work on character, and then their athletics, their wrestling, and just get as many kids on, as best as possible. And regarding our team, because we don't have a lot of seniors this year, we're going to be rebuilding. We're going into a new division next year.
Right, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, so it's as a coach, I like to just focus on the kids and let them know it's all about, being a good person, work on character, being good sons and brothers and daughters. And, so as a coach, really, we're just trying to turn out good kids for society.
No, of course. And, I feel like that's the mission of every coach, and like you said, there's one aspect of course, winning and competing for a state championship, but mostly I would say 90% of the time, you're really, like you said, coach, you're building human beings, you're building teamwork, you're building compassion. There's so much, and we talked about it a few times. I mean, there's so many life lessons to be learned within sports and competition in general, whether it be on a basketball court or on the wrestling match, or even sitting in front of a chessboard. I mean, regardless, competition does breed some great people. And coach, your program last season captured a sectional title or a sectional championship. Before we talk to that move to Division II, I want to just briefly touch upon last season. How do you build onto that momentum? Because I feel, coach, in a lot of ways, you guys really made a big splash in Division III last year. And I know you're moving up to Division II this year, but I mean, we talk about that match you guys had against Mingus Union, a very, very good wrestling program in D3. You guys went toe-to-toe to them early in the season. I know you had a couple other close matches going forward in the season. You guys wrestled well against Cocoa in that same tournament. So, I mean, it seems like Bradshaw is really starting to become a perennial force here among many great programs in Northern Arizona. I want to make that very clear. But, Coach, I mean, how do you guys build on this momentum from that big splash from D3, now making the jump to Division II? We've always looked up to great programs like Mingus and Coconino and, even Prescott. Our goal is always just to hang with those guys. And then as we got closer, we realized, hey, we really have a shot at beating these guys. And it was the first time beating Mingus Union, and it was a great achievement. It felt really great. And my hat off to Coach McKean, and he's going to be missed. Coconino was the first time we beat them last season, and really it's just an honor just to be able to hang with these guys. Yuma Catholic, we lost to by one or two matches, and they were always a powerhouse in the state. So going forward, our goals really, like I said, is just be able to hang with these great programs and do our best to eke them out and come around them. We're always just trying to constantly improve and get better. Right. High school sports and as teachers, every season you get a new crop of kids coming in. So I've learned never make predictions about what season holds, because you never know your competition. You never know, what your guys will end up doing. But we always just strive to do our best and work on the basics and fundamentals, and hang with some of these great programs and do our best to try to beat them. But stay humble, and if we don't beat them, we just get back on the mat and keep working harder, and
we're excited to move on to the next division next year.
Yeah.
Again, it's going to be completely brand new for us, so we'll have to wait and see.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that, Coach. We don't need to get too directly into, like you said, predicting how you guys might do next season in D2. But I do want to talk a little bit about that jump. I mean, how much of a stretch is it really? I mean, we see in other sports like basketball where there is kind of a big difference, or I should say football, where there is a big difference between a 4A football program and a 6A football program. With wrestling, though, I feel it's a little bit more of an even playing field where a lot of guys, despite the school size, you're all still kind of like in the same amount of shape. You've all kind of got the same amount of kids. You got the different weight classes. But I just want to ask, how big of a difference is that D3 to D2 jump, and who might you guys take on?
Yeah, you're absolutely right when it comes to wrestling and the different divisions. There is a big jump when it comes from, say, D3 or D2 up to D1.
Yeah.
But really in wrestling, it's hard to say because D4 are smaller schools, but you have like St. John's and Morenci. There are some really good programs, even in the smaller schools. So for us going from D3 to D2, it'll be a change. Ironwood, there's a school named Ironwood. They're super good every year. Mm-hmm. However, there's been a lot of changes in D2 as well. Some schools got bumped up to D1. Some of those schools got bumped down to D2 and D3, So for us, it's just one match at a time. Yeah. It's one competition at a time. We don't really, we don't look too far ahead at a time, because it'll get to the kids. So we just focus on one match at a time, just doing our best and getting ready and getting in shape. But I do think we'll be competitive in D2.
Oh yeah.
It's a rebuild year for us. So I don't know if, but it's a new division too, so it's going to be anyone's bet. But again, we're just going to get out there, do our best and stay humble and work hard.
Yeah, of course. And Coach, best of luck in that bump up from D3 to D2. I know you guys are going to be facing some tougher competition there. Not to take anything away from Division 3, but like you said, you go up, there's obviously a little bit higher level of competition. Maybe it's just slightly, but like you said, there are a lot of great programs, even if they're bigger or smaller schools. And I know you've got a couple programs surrounding Bradshaw Mountain, Chino Valley, Prescott. Will you guys still take on the Badgers and the Cougars when the opportunity is presented, now moving from Division 3 to Division 2? Or will you guys just try to stay in that Division 2 for now and then, maybe down the line work in a couple exhibition matches with them?
Yeah, ideally, we'd still like to compete, mostly for bragging rights. I don't think Bradshaw's ever won the Legler Cup, which is a competition between us and Chino and Prescott for bragging rights, really. Coach Legler retired from Prescott years ago. And so we kind of have an internal Legler Cup where every year whoever wins out of the three of us. Now, last year was a three-way draw, which was kind of funny. We beat Prescott beat Chino, and then Chino came from behind and beat us. So, but yeah, it's fun. I'm hoping that we do still get to compete against them. We were looking at our schedule for this next season, and they're not on our schedule right now. But Coach Rock up at Embry-Riddle, he tries to put together a Yavapai County duels every year.
Okay.
And we haven't done it the last couple of years. So we're looking at getting back in on that where we can, again, it's a nice local camaraderie, between the Tri-City area. So hopefully we still get to do that and come out on top this year. But
no predictions, right? No predictions though.
Yeah, no predictions. Right. But yeah, we just always hope for the best. They have a couple coaching changes happening next year. Prescott's getting a new head coach as well as Chino High. So as well as Mingus, so again, this next season is going to be unpredictable for a lot of teams.
Right. Well, Coach Nollet, I appreciate you coming on the show and giving us an update for the wrestling season. I know we'll touch base again when we get much closer to winter, but enjoy the off season. It's great to speak with you. Congrats on year 3. Congrats on the jump up from Division 3 to Division 2. And as always, Coach, we'll keep an eye on your program. We look forward to talking to you every time.
All right, great. Thanks for having me, Philip. Appreciate it.
That's going to do it for this episode of Off the Bench. I'm your host, Philip Catalfamo, wishing you a great rest of your week, and we will talk to you again next time.